first thing I want to do is share this fun video that I made of this book I'm about to put out in just about a week. It's awesome. I love it. You're going to like it. It's called Warfare Qualified. Check it out. Pretty good, huh? The other thing that I wanted to talk through was the latest drama in writing world. And it's not really the latest drama, but this ongoing percolating drama amongst writers. And that's this paranoia about the AI stuff. It's a misnomer because AI is not AI, right? It's artificial, but it's not intelligent. It's just search algorithms and, probability matrices and things like that. It's not actual thought. It's not actual creativity. It's just, going through an algorithm and putting things in place. And of course, the writers are up in arms because, oh my gosh, you're stealing my work to do your AI thing. And it's not really, sort of, kind of. I mean, that they've fed a bunch of writers' works into the AI matrices to train the program and how to tweak its algorithms and stuff. But it's not like you can say, hey, give me a Dean Koontz novel, and the AI output will be an actual Dean Koontz novel, right? It'll be something that it tries to approximate the style that Dean Koontz uses. But it's not going to be word for word. Writers are like, oh my gosh, it's plagiarism. No, it's not. Plagiarism is word for word copying. It's not what this is. But anyway, leave it to writers to never stop generating ways to make things dramatic. I really don't tend to like writers very much for that reason. But I came across two videos, one that's on the drama side and one that's on the not drama side, about the AI thing that I wanted to talk through and do my own reaction to, because that's the reason why I'm doing this, so I can say what I think. Yeah, so let's get into that. So this first one, this is lady Taylor Rose. She's just as good at YouTube as I am. She's a little bit better. This was from it's a couple weeks ago now. I saved this video 6 days ago. But talking about some kind of drama that went in among writers on a writer forum, and I think it's illustrative of some of the weird thinking that people have, not her, but the writers she's talking about have about this thing. So let's go see what went on there.
Actual details. They're giving enough details to create victims, but not enough details to accurately assign blame.
She's got a great logo. Look at that.
My name is Taylor Rose and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about some fresh off the press book community drama. Editing Taylor here. So I just want to clarify that these aren't my personal opinions. Obviously everyone is entitled to their own. Over the last week, book threads and book talk have been in shambles, basically.
I've never been on threads. I didn't know threads existed until I started going to some of these writing video of people. I had heard of book talk, but I don't go on TikTok. I don't want to melt my brain. But I know there's a big book community, especially if you're into romantasy over there. But I That's not my gig, so I don't go there. But anyway, oh yeah, we'll see.
Because of this conversation that was happening over on Threads. And you can see the post that instigated everything here. I swear she had made another post shortly before or after this, but I can no longer find it. Maybe someone else has it. But the post that I can't find specifically named an indie published book that has since gotten a trad publishing deal. Basically, you can see her lending credence to the idea that people are going to like AI generated books. Immediately, you can see the top response to this was someone naming a book that meets this description. Obviously, that is a narrow scope of people that now all these readers are going to target and think this is who she was talking about. Some other authors did respond agreeing with her, saying they don't agree with using AI, which, like, I totally agree with you, but then they start getting defensive because people are upset about these posts because they are vague posting. They aren't giving actual details. They're giving enough details to create victims.
I think in the YouTube space they call this gay ops. I'm not sure. Regardless, it's a very feminine way of talking around an issue and casting blame without having to actually point a finger, which I say feminine because, let's face it, guys tend to be a lot more blunt about things. Like, dude, you're AI, mother trucker. Damn right I am. No, I'm not. Girls are a little more around the curve about it. But anyway.
But not enough details to accurately assign blame. And you can see her big response to people being mad, right? Are authors baiting the internet with vague posting? Or are we sounding the alarm as safely as we can because we see the very real end to our professions coming at us like a freight train and are refusing to lie down and take it silently? Are we signaling our resistance to every grifter licking their chops at the idea of an AI cash grab? Are we praying our publishers do the right thing and value the long-term survival of our entire industry over immediate profit? And no, I don't think you're sounding the alarm. We already know this is happening. This is an active conversation across book communities about how AI is infiltrating all these authors.
Okay, so this is the sort of dramatic false moralization. I'm sounding the alarm. I'm fighting for my business. Oh my gosh, they're gonna take down my profession. No. It's not a moral crusade. Writing's not gonna go away. AI's not gonna destroy the profession. It might destroy yours if you're not any good, or you're not willing to adjust the times and flex and make use of a tool if you need to make use of it. But it's not going to destroy the profession. It may weed out. Yeah, there will be grifters who come along and just do AI cash grabs like this person said, but it's this person that Taylor's quoting said. But that's true of everything all the time. That's not, again, it's not a moral crusade. And it's not the end of all things. I think there's one more thing that she's going to talk about, but then I want to get to the other video. Let's move on a second.
That are posting together about this have turned this conversation onto the reader, while in the same breath agreeing that there is no tell to AI. How is the average reader, any reader, supposed to know whether or not a book is written by AI unless there's a prompt left in or the author admits to it? There's no other way to tell. You cannot tell. Despite what all the little theorists online are saying about AI writing, you can't tell. It's not like visual art. So Megan,
a lot of times you can't tell in visual art either. A couple of years ago you could, because they would put 7 fingers on a hand or something, but it's been refined since then. There is some not AI, generative art, I guess generative AI art out there that if you weren't told it wasn't generative AI, you wouldn't know just by looking at it. There are sometimes tells, like the Google, was it VO3 thing that came out, all those various video streams, the 8-second video clips that they put out from it. There's a certain sameness to how it's made that you can pick up on. Or if there's this great YouTube channel, Stormtrooper Vlogs. They use a lot of AI in their thing, and it's just two stormtroopers who are just like sarcastic grunts just going about their day. Bitch ass Vader sent us over here. Oh my god, we're gonna die. Well, okay, we didn't die. But if you look at they use a lot of AI video in it, and you could kind of tell from the way it's set up that yeah, it's an AI thing, but it's getting harder and harder.
Kimby Wrights, who honestly is my hero across these comment sections, she says, you guys are baiting the internet because indie authors are now getting accused, and this isn't okay. Just name drop the person. If you truly refuse to lie down, you just drop the name. And I agree. They want the whistleblower aesthetic, and they don't actually want to be a whistleblower because then you get in trouble. So there was someone, author Ashley Godchild, who was posting like, you guys are crazy. Why are y'all overreacting like this? Who then, as she learned more about the situation, did come back and be like, since posting this, I've been corrected that a trad author did in fact heavily influence, if not begin, the indie witch hunt. My bad, y'all. Which, good for her. But I did like a lot of responses to her thread.
All right, I think I had thought that there was another part of this, but that I wanted to get to. But I think the moralizing commentary was what I really wanted to get to with her. But let's get over here to this other guy, the nerdy novelist, who openly, this is from about a year ago, who openly uses AI. And let's hear what he's got to say about the whole thing. Because I think his take is worth hearing.
A lot of the haters out there will tell you that authors who use AI aren't really authors. And in this case, I actually agree. We're something bigger, and I'll tell you what that is today. Hello everyone, welcome back to The Nerdy Novelist, and be sure to stick around to the end of this video because I have a big announcement that I think you're going to want to hear. But first, let's talk about why...
We're not going to stop for that because that was a year ago. But anyway.
Authors who use AI aren't really authors, or at least that's not how I see us. Now, don't get me wrong. If you identify strongly as an author and you want to use AI in some method to enhance that process, then by all means, go ahead and identify as an author. There is nothing holding you back from being an author. AI has nothing to do with whether you are an author or not. However, if you're like me or a lot of the other authors out there who are using AI heavily in their process in order to dramatically improve their results and the amount of work that we are able to put out, we like to think big, okay? And I'm thinking big here. And I don't think that the word author is really enough to actually describe what an AI author is currently able to do, and certainly what an AI author will be able to do in the future. To show you what I mean, let me briefly talk about where I see this industry going, perhaps as early as the next couple of years, certainly by the next 5 to 10 years. This is what I'm seeing. We're currently having a lot of advancements with AI text and AI art currently, and those are really the two industries that are blowing up in the creative field. However, we're starting to see the beginnings of the same revolution happening in other creative fields like video games, 3D models, text to video generators, much in the same way that we have text to image generators, and a whole slew of others, audio, music, basically any creative field that you can think of. And
this is true. I know for a fact there are a lot of professional musicians who are using AI tools to help create their music now. In the video game space, the Wayward Realms, which is a project that I backed on Kickstarter last year, it's being done by some of the guys who originally worked on Daggerfall, and they wanted to be the true Daggerfall, successor. They are intentionally using a lot of the generative dungeon type stuff, but also they have an overall plot set up, but they have also integrated a large language model into their code so that as the player does their thing, the game will be able to adapt and twist and create new quests and new side things going on as a direct reaction to the player, as opposed to having a scripted out thing that allows a certain amount of choice. Their vision is to have something that adjusts itself on the fly. Now they say the overall plot of the world, overall plot of the gameplay, the big picture plot of the gameplay is going to be scripted out, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be generative AI, large language model type stuff as people go about their day, as they interact with NPCs, and the game adjusts to them, right? And if they can make that work, that sounds pretty awesome, frankly. I backed it because I like those big fantasy role playing game type stuff. But as I've been in their radio podcasts and stuff talking about what they're doing with their development, it's like, man, this sounds like it's gonna be really cool. And large language models, generative AI stuff is enabling it, right? So that's the sort of project that points towards the future that this guy is talking about.
This is why people are scared, because there really isn't an artistic field that is safe here. And a lot of these fields are not quite as developed as the AI text or AI image fields are right now, but they are where AI text and image fields were a year ago. And so we already have seen the amount of advancement that we've seen with text and images. We're going to see that happen with video and with video games and whatever you can think of.
Yeah, we saw that. Like I pointed out, the Google VO3 thing. We saw that just a few weeks ago, right? It can only do 8 seconds at a time for now, but you can if you script out, 8-second blocks of stuff, you can AI generate some hefty videos. And there's one that I saw, I forget what it was. It was a couple minutes long. It was all AI generated, and it was scripted out using 8-second blocks from VO3, and it was pretty awesome. You still had to have a person script it, but it was, but it was great. Anyway.
What this means is that it's going to be significantly easier in the near future to have or create a video game knowing nothing about code, or to create a movie based on whatever you want to base it on. The costs are going to come down significantly compared to where they were before. And it's interesting because there's this writer's strike going on in Hollywood right now, which, by the way, I fully support. The writers, Hollywood is a supremely corrupt system. But it's funny that the writers are a little bit worried about how the Hollywood studios are going to use AI, and they don't want to get cut out because of that. But I actually think, and this is really what I do think, I think the Hollywood studios are actually the ones in trouble. When we saw
the VO3 thing,
the self-publishing revolution in the early 2010s, where Amazon released the Kindle and made it possible for anybody to self-publish, we saw this happen with the traditional publishing space. Since then, they've been consolidating publishers and really trying to hang on for dear life to their old business models, which simply do not work anymore. And I think as AI makes video and gaming more accessible, these huge, enormous studios that create content are suddenly going to become the traditional publishers of the next decade, right? They're going to be new people coming in and creating much cheaper, much more accessible content. And they're going to be smaller studios popping up that don't need these big studios because they're able to do a lot of it themselves using AI. And for those of us that are keeping tabs on AI, like pretty much all of you watching, we're going to be able to take advantage of these opportunities. So you can see why just saying author doesn't quite sound like enough of a word. We could just say storyteller, where we're kind of lifting ourselves above one writing medium where all we're doing is writing books because that's the cheapest form of entertainment that we can actually do with our time. But once we have access to movies or games or audio dramas or whatever we want to do with with far less effort than it was before, then what could we do with that? So here's what I actually see happening in the near future. I think we're going to start to see the rise of independent publishers, hopefully like myself, who, they do publish books. That's like a big part of their revenue stream. But then maybe you've got a little bit of a publishing house that is a multimedia publishing house. So yes, you'll probably publish books, maybe publish a lot of books, publish other people's books. But then maybe you have a theatrical film guy or an animated television guy or a video game guy whose job it is, their only job is to just create video games or movies or animated movies or what have you. And you just have this with a single person who's able to manage all that. And so you have this small company of a couple of employees that's able to do a lot of cool stuff. I think that's legitimately going to be possible within 5 to 10 years. So once again, you can kind of see why I think the term author is simplistic. We're really not going to be building single stories. We're going to be building these story empires. And that's what I like to think of my own work. I like to think of it as a storytelling empire that books are just a small part of. So
so I think this guy, frankly, has a lot better feel for things than the pearl clutching writers that Taylor was referring to do. Because frankly, the AI thing, it's not going away. It's here. It's we're just gonna have to deal with it and make use of it. And creative people are going to make use of it. And people can be like, "Oh my gosh, it's impure." It's like, you can clutch at your pearls all you want, but I mean, the world is what it is, and things have moved on a bit, and we have to adjust. Like, now, do I use generative AI in my writing? No. But let me show you this. So this is my stories from the Great Challenge. As I'm looking at it now, I was like, man, I could have made that title font a bit better. But this is me back. I've done this a couple times. I've done the whole, let's write a short story a week for a year. I did that in 2019 going into 2020. I also did it in 2023, just to push my limits and help myself grow as a writer and also get past some things. But there are 52 stories in this book. I wrote them in the course of a year, right? So of the 52 stories in that book, probably a third of them are like chapter 1, or maybe not of a novel, but the first story in a series of short works or whatever. In fact, I've done some of that. I've expanded on some of them. My Dustin Cofield is my. Let me show you this. I've only got two stories published here. I've written much more than this, but like Dustin Cofield is my favorite, one of my favorite characters that I've written in about. He's a secret agent. He works for Santa Claus, sort of, right? He's the backstory is that Santa Claus had the elves were not happy with Santa Claus, and they wanted to form a union. And Santa Claus was like, yeah, we're not doing that. And the elves said, okay, well, go screw yourself. We're out of here, right? We're out of here. We're not working for you anymore, and we're done. And then they set off in the world, and they're trying to take Santa Claus out and trying to screw Christmas up and do their own thing because they're mad at Santa Claus. Dustin Cofield is a secret agent who works for an agency that doesn't exist to take down the rogue elves and help preserve Christmas. Now, Dustin Cofield, his agency has a combat suit. It's made from the same fabric as Santa Claus's coat. Because he's been in contact with the elves for so long, there's a residual magic thing that helps protect the agents in the agency from the elves' tricks, right? And it looks just like it's a bodysuit, and he's got a gun holster and a bunch of other things. But he's got a white hood, and he got a face mask, and it's all fuzzy like Santa's suit, right? And it's just kind of silly, and Dustin hates putting it on every time he does because it's just the most ridiculous thing ever, but it's effective, right? So I'm putting together a collection of Dustin Cofield stories, of a 10-story collection that I'm going to put out here later this year. The problem is, how do I get good cover art for a thing like that? Because I use a lot of stock art for my various covers, but a guy with a holster and a Santa suit with a hood, but he's also a superhero kind of looking dude. It's like, how the hell do you do that? So I have gone over to Grok, and I've done a little bit of just experiments with the AI, generative AI on Grok, just to see what maybe not just as a concept thing that I can hand off to a human artist and go from. Well, let me show you these things. So these are some of the possibilities that Grok has come up with, right? So that's kind of lame looking. That's okay looking. That's okay looking. That's okay looking. That looks good. But Dustin has a girlfriend named Nora who, I don't like that one at all. I can't. But maybe we should include Nora in there. Well, hey, here's Nora. We can have a little thing come up with Nora. Where's Nora? Okay, I'm losing it here. Let's get rid of some of these. Dustin Cofield, Nora. Here. Hey, there, Nora. Maybe that could work for Dustin and Nora. Maybe not, right? But this is all stuff that I'm using generative AI to get ideas for covers. And I can feed that to a human artist or whatever and get somebody to draw it the way I want. But using stock art, I can't do it. And I can use that generative AI tool to maybe give some ideas for an artist to work with, right? But it'd be really hard to do that and do it well without that tool that I've used, right? In addition, right, the all those stories that are, chapter ones, I don't have time to write right? 15 different 15 different series of books, perhaps, or 15 different series of short stories. But I could maybe get a good AI thing that you can. There's ways now to download it onto a Linux server that you own, and so you say it's self-contained, and maybe I just feed a couple stories in there and give it prompts to generate, episodes 20 through 25, or maybe not. I haven't done it yet. I may never do it, but I don't think that's immoral for me to do that with my work. Right? You could argue the morality or ethics of trying to recreate somebody else's work with it, but I don't think for a person doing their own, using AI to generate their own stuff, using their own ideas, because it's not like these things work where it just spawns out of nothing. You have to feed it, right? The large language model is only good for a couple thousand words at a time, right? You got to give it specific direction. And what I learned doing those attempts at Dustin Cofield images is that it's just going to run wild and do all kinds of goofy, stupid stuff. You got to be very specific what you tell it to do, otherwise it'll be just stupid. So it's not like a one-click and you're done. Using it is a process. Have I used it for writing? No. I've played with it for covers. Might I use it for writing in the future on characters that I have created and stories that I don't have time to write but think would be cool to continue on with as a force multiplier to make it faster to do a story for those characters that I like? Maybe. Haven't yet, but maybe. But I don't think it's this moral crusade that some writers think it is. It's certainly not a copyright problem, because copyright protects the form that has printed it, right? It's like, oh, they're stealing my copyright to train the AI model. Well, the AI model isn't going and duplicating your work. If it's using your work as a reference point, so does every other writer who has ever read your work. Right now, copyright law won't protect stuff that's purely AI generated, right? There has to be human influence to it. It's still working its way through the courts, where the dividing line is on that, but I don't think that writers do themselves any service by panty twisting as much as some writers are on this topic. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that.